Hello. A breath of fresh air is something we all take for granted, but tonight we can reveal that people across this region are inhaling toxic fumes way above the official safety limits on air pollution.
We discovered that in 70 locations across Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex, there are often dangerously high levels of toxic gas in the atmosphere. It's nitrogen dioxide, which is a byproduct of diesel engines. Campaigners say it affects the lungs, heart and even the brain, cutting short the lives of tens of thousands of people every year in the UK. Major towns and cities are worst affected, with illegal levels found in 11 locations in Ipswich and Colchester and 9 locations in Norwich. But smaller towns can also suffer, with some of the highest readings recorded in Sudbury, Rayleigh and Bishop Stortford. Today, a final warning was issued to the government: either improve air quality or face legal action. This is from our environment reporter Richard Daniel.
This electric van is a mobile laboratory that can detect an invisible killer: nitrogen dioxide. We took it to Hockerell Junction in Bishop Stortford.
It's rush hour, we're sitting in standing traffic, and the level has gone up massively, hasn't it?
Yes, I mean we're up to 300 or 400 micrograms per cubic metre of NO2.
Well, you could expect those levels in central London, could you?
Yes, you could definitely expect those levels in central London.
The average legal limit for nitrogen dioxide is 40 micrograms per cubic metre. At Hockerell Junction, it's 76, nearly double. This computer simulation shows the problem. They call it the canyon effect. Vehicle pollutants hemmed in by buildings are unable to escape. Most nitrogen dioxide is produced by diesel engines. It's linked to heart disease, breathing problems, stunted lung development in children, strokes and even dementia. The UK government has consistently missed European targets to reduce levels. Air pollution is invariably a problem associated with our big cities, but what few people realise is that if you live in a small market town, you can also be exposed to average nitrogen dioxide levels that break the law. In Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex, there are 72 places we know of where that's the case. If you're young or old, you're most at risk, or if you have a pre-existing illness, like Enid Russell, who has a lung condition.
We've been here just a short while this morning and I am feeling this kind of knitting in process happening really in my upper chest, in actual fact.
Experts say the problem is on a par with the smogs of the 1950s. It's just we can't see it.
You're going to be sitting, if you're in a vehicle, in effectively a small gas chamber. And what we now know is if this happens on a regular basis, then even those healthy people who exercise regularly and don't feel as if they've got any condition at all, what we're doing is we're building up a legacy of exposure, which down the line will contribute to some health problem in due course.
Councils are responsible for monitoring nitrogen dioxide. Many use these small diffusion tubes. The UK government also requires them to deal with unsafe levels, but in many cases that's simply not happening.
Central government needs to give us some funds, because basically what they've done is said, here, the problem is now yours. Really, to do something substantial here, we probably have to knock some of these buildings down. That would be compulsory purchase order, and that would cost an absolute, vast sum of money.
Today, a group of environmental lawyers has issued the UK government with a final warning.
The government isn't making it a priority. It thinks it's okay for us all to be breathing illegal pollution until 2020. We don't think that's good enough, and that's why we're going to go back to court.
For Enid Russell, that moment can't come soon enough. Richard Daniel, BBC Look East.
Well, earlier I spoke to Bert Bremner, who's the councillor in charge of air quality in Norwich. Wasn't it shocking that there were such high levels of air pollution in parts of the city?
It seems shocking, but the reality is what you feel when you're there. And the reality is, yes, there are some small exceedances in Norwich. It isn't the place that some people are trying to make out. It's all to do with the traffic in that general sense. Yes, there certainly is a problem. But obviously things can be done about that. One, you take the traffic out if you can.
But if we look at in Norwich, for example, I mean, one of our viewers has actually tweeted us saying, Norwich doesn't surprise me, the only city not planting trees but planting traffic lights.
Well, that's a very sad thing. We are certainly planting trees, not as many as I want to do.
There is congestion in Norwich, isn't there? And that can't help the situation.
And yeah, but in one way, let's take a look at the city centre and what's been changed in the city centre. We're taken out, and the aim is, but even more, the actual through traffic, the traffic that wasn't actually contributing to the city centre at all. The only thing it was contributing was fumes and noise.
But the figures speak for themselves. There are dangerous levels of pollution.
Not dangerous. Let's not over.
Well, exceeding EU limits,
yes.
And those limits are there for a reason, surely.
Well, yes, but that's slightly exceeding some EU limits. They're not dangerous. But being positive about it, yeah, there's changes that need to be taking place, and one of the things is buses, and the local authority, the Norfolk County Council, along with Norwich, has got some £416,000 to change the buses that use that area.
So what can be done to actually persuade people who are stationary or at traffic lights to actually turn off their engines? Because that would make a huge difference, wouldn't it?
If we can get the buses to switch their engines off, that's getting the companies who I think are quite positive about this, and the passengers. It wouldn't be brilliant. Passengers say to her, you're sitting there waiting, what's your engine on?
You're saying it isn't dangerous, but there is evidence that air pollution contributes to thousands of deaths in the UK every year.
Absolutely. And really, it would be fantastic if the government did get and do something about it.
You speak about the government and it being their responsibility. Of course, they say it's your responsibility. The DEFRA statement that we have says it is for local authorities to make decisions on local air quality issues.
Absolutely. But it depends what's within our power. And the figures that are coming through, the information that's coming through about 215 figures, show that they're a great improvement. So with the changes on the buses, I could see that, in fact, cross fingers or hard work, Norwich will be out of that.
But Bremner, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Museums across the region said today that security